All right, so I want to talk today about the pick heard around the world that was made Thursday night. The Atlanta Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick of the draft. Everybody seems to have an opinion on it. I have one myself, and I can see why. I can see why the pick would have raised some eyebrows. But I can also see why General Manager Terry Fontenot and the Atlanta Falcons made the pick that they did. I can see what they want to do in the situation. It makes sense. The strategy may be flawed, the execution may be flawed, but I'll get into that in this video. So Terry Fontenot explained several days before the first round of the draft that he admired Green Bay's strategy with Jordan Love, drafting Jordan Love and having him sit behind Aaron Rodgers for several years to develop, learn from Rodgers, and go through the maturation process needed to be a great, sustainable NFL quarterback. And so far, it has worked out swimmingly for the Packers. So I can see why Terry Fontenot would be inspired to draft a quarterback, even in the first round this year, to sit behind Kirk Cousins for several years, because Kirk Cousins has a history of winning. He knows how to win games. He's been a very successful quarterback. Statistically, it proves that too. And there's a lot that a young quarterback could learn from him. It's an investment that could pay out for years for Atlanta. You take Kirk Cousins for 4 or 5 years, have a quarterback sit behind him, and then you have somebody for the next 15 years who learned from a fantastic quarterback. It's a great setup, in essence, but it has to be executed well. There's also another situation that I think that Terry Fontenot was inspired by, and that was the situation that happened with the Denver Broncos this past year with Russ. Several years ago, they brought in Russell Wilson, a veteran quarterback who had a history of winning, who a lot of people thought would just be plugged into the Denver Broncos system and would automatically just start winning games. It did not go that way. His tenure in Denver was very rocky, very tumultuous. He never really hit his strides, and the Broncos ended up shipping him out. I don't think that the Falcons wanted that kind of situation when they brought in Kirk Cousins, because there is a risk that they run. There is this risk that Kirk Cousins is not the guy that he used to be, that he does not perform at the same caliber that he used to. He's 35 years old. He's coming off of an Achilles injury, which can have lasting effects. There is no guarantee that you're getting the Kirk Cousins that you saw in Minnesota or that you saw in Washington. So they want some insurance. I get they wanted to have a quarterback in their garage that they could substitute in if this Kirk Cousins experiment does not work out well. And I don't mind that. The Packers had Jordan Love when it was time for the Aaron Rodgers era to end in Green Bay. They brought in Jordan Love. The Broncos didn't really have anybody in the garage, so they had to go get Bo Nix this year. Atlanta did not want to get in that situation. So I am not against them taking quarterback in the first round or even at 8 overall. It's who they took that I have an issue with. And I love Michael Penix Jr. I don't love him in Atlanta. Personally, I want to see Michael Penix Jr. play this year. I think his deep ball is great. I think that he's a fantastic leader. I think that he has a lot of attributes that would translate seamlessly over to the NFL game. I want to see him with the Raiders. I want to see him throw into Devontae Adams. I think that would have been electrifying. I want to see him play this year. Not in 4 to 5 years. This year. And I think that a lot of NFL fans express that same sentiment that I do when it comes to that. He's a great talent, and I want to see him play now. Michael Penix Jr. is 23 years old right now. He will be 24 by week 1 of the NFL season this year. To put that into perspective, Jordan Love was 21 when the Packers drafted him. So he had some maturation to go through. He had some development that he had to go through. But he eventually got there, and he's thriving now. If Michael Penix Jr. follows the Falcons' current strategy right now, and that's waiting 4 to 5 years to start, he's going to be 28, 29 years old. That's almost past your athletic prime. That's not an ideal situation. And I hope that that's not what ends up happening. I hope I get to see Michael Penix Jr. start a game before that, because I think he's an electrifying quarterback. And another age comparison, he'd be 28 or 29 years old by the time he starts. Patrick Mahomes right now is 28 years old. Josh Allen, 27 years old. Joe Burrow, 27. CJ Stroud, 22. So a lot of your best quarterbacks right now are already in their early, mid, and late 20s. That's called the prime. You don't want to mess up the timing, because that's going to shorten Michael Penix Jr.'s career, and I really would prefer to not see that. I think there's a better option that Atlanta could have gone with. I think if they went with J.J. McCarthy, who was available at number 8, that would have been perfect. Because of all of your top 6 quarterbacks in the NFL draft this year, J.J. McCarthy is one who I think needs the most development. I think he could take some time behind a veteran quarterback and learn some things. I think that could really benefit him. And then plug him into that system in Atlanta, I think that he could thrive. I think he's a very capable quarterback. I think he's in a great situation in Minnesota. Don't get me wrong. I had a video about that a few days ago. I think he'll be just fine there. But he would have been just fine in Atlanta as well, sitting behind Kirk Cousins for a few years. J.J. McCarthy is 21 years old. Instead of being a plug-and-play right now, he could have gotten to age 23, 24, 25, and then got plugged in, and probably would have been a much better quarterback. And that situation just would have made more sense for Atlanta. So taking McCarthy instead of Penix, I think, would have been a better idea. And then you'd be following that same strategy that Green Bay did, that Terry Fontenot admired, of having a younger quarterback stay behind Kirk Cousins for a couple years and develop, and then have him ready to go, developed, ready to go. The other thing, and this is most important, that Atlanta could have done better in this situation, communicate. Let Kirk Cousins' camp know. Let Kirk know. Let Kirk's agent, Mike McCartney, know. Don't have this be a surprise. It was said that both Kirk and Mike McCartney were stunned Thursday night. They had no idea this was coming, and they were trying to make sense of it all. Granted, Atlanta will probably be just fine for week 1. They'll probably make the playoffs with their roster, but it could be a little bit uncomfortable in that building for these next couple weeks at least. Because when you make a move like that without telling somebody, they're going to be a little upset. And I can see why. There's some explaining to do. And you saw Terry Fontenot trying to explain himself to Arthur Blank. That's what it looked like on Thursday night. And that video was pretty funny. I'll put that on here. That was pretty funny. But that's going to be the theme. They have some explaining to do right now. And if they had communicated, if Atlanta and Terry Fontenot had just simply said, hey, we may be taking a quarterback here in the first round, don't be surprised. Even if you said that back in March, Kirk Cousins is a reasonable person. You'd be like, okay, that makes sense. This is a business. I'm part of your organization. I want to see you be your best. So in order to sustain success, it's a great idea to have a young quarterback sitting under somebody like me so that he can develop and the franchise can win long term and hopefully get that first Super Bowl. But the communication didn't take place. So it may be a little bit rocky to start. That could have been a little better. Taking a younger quarterback like J.J. McCarthy, 21 years old, who could have used some development, instead of a quarterback like Michael Penix Jr., who will be 24 by week 1, who I think is ready to go, ready to plug and chug and go. I think would be a phenomenal quarterback in his first year in the NFL. He's ready. He showed that last year at Washington. And had they just communicated better. The strategy makes sense. Wanting a Green Bay situation, not wanting a Denver situation. It all makes sense. I have nothing against Atlanta taking a quarterback in the first rounds, but the strategy and the execution could have been better. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Makes a huge play.
It's one thing for him to make a catch like this, and they've been trying to work him in over the middle. Watch the defensive linebackers get downhill. He's got a tight window, puts it in there. What a catch by Loveland.